For over 100 years, France branded Africa not as a partner, but as a possession. From Senegal to Madagascar, from Côte d'Ivoire to Chad, entire nations were colonized, languages imposed, and natural resources extracted to enrich Paris, while Africans remained poor on their own land. But when independence came, the chains didn't break. They simply changed form. Today, we uncover the invisible empire, how France kept control long after the flags came down. At its height, France ruled over 20 African territories, calling them overseas provinces. They imported their language, legal systems, and economic structures. Under forced labor, Africans built railways, mined uranium, and harvested cocoa for French industries. Resistance movements were met with brutal crackdowns, but in the 1950s, the call for freedom could no longer be ignored. Between 1958 and 1962, most French colonies gained financial independence, but the freedom was scripted. The real power stayed hidden in Paris. France created the CFA franc in 1945, a colonial currency that lives on today in 14 African countries, even after independence. These nations had to deposit up to 65% of their reserves in the French treasury. Paris controlled their money supply, interest rates, and fiscal decisions. African economies were not sovereign. They were subsidiaries of the Banque de France.
This is called the CFA franc. It is a colonial currency that France prints for 14 African nations, to which it applies seigniorage, and by virtue of which it exploits the resources of those nations. This is a child who works in a gold mine in Burkina Faso. Burkina Faso is one of the poorest nations in the world. France prints colonial money for Burkina Faso, which has gold. In return, they demand that 50% of everything that Burkina Faso exports end up in the coffers of the French treasury. The gold that this child goes down a tunnel to extract mostly end up in the coffers of the French state. So the solution is not to take the Africans and bring them to Europe. The solution is to free Africa from certain Europeans who exploit it and allow these people to live off what they have.
In 1994, France devalued the CFA franc by 50% overnight, plunging millions into poverty while French companies bought African exports for cheap. That wasn't just economic policy, it was financial warfare. Independence did not mean autonomy. France kept military bases in Djibouti, Gabon, Senegal, Chad, and Côte d'Ivoire. Under defense pacts, France could intervene at will to protect its interests, often backing dictators over democrats. Over the years, France intervened militarily in over 50 African operations. These weren't peace missions, they were power moves. French boots on African soil became a symbol of control, not protection. While France preached democracy, it secured exclusive rights to African resources. Uranium from Niger powered French nuclear plants. Oil from Gabon flowed into French tanks. Cocoa, cotton, and rubber exported raw and brought back refined. African nations were denied technology transfer, refining capacity, and fair pricing. Meanwhile, French companies made billions. Africans remained poor, even on research-rich land. It was colonialism without chains, but the hunger was just as deadly. But the tide is turning. In Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, the people are rising.
Unite! Africa! Unite! Unite! Of all the resources Burkina Faso have, they've not been able to build even more than 5,000 kilometers of road. Today, as we are speaking, when our politicians go around building first coach, second coach roads, he is building asphalted overland roads. How many years And today, the person that is building roads, the person that is giving hope to the people, we have some people coming from nowhere to tell them that, you know what, we are ready to give you life. In fact, if they want to give life, they should go to Congo, they should go to South Sudan, they should go there, and the mess they caused there, they should go and put it together, take it back to their country. Enough is enough. We are ready to rise up and say, enough is enough. It is now. They can never keep us in the fear or the circles of imperialism. No way. We are ready to detach ourselves and say enough is enough. And this is the time that African youth need to read through the lines and see and realize the truth. The same way they did to Nkrumah, they use the same people. And this is a warning that goes to all African leaders. That's right. That they sit back and allow themselves to be used by the imperialists. Exactly. Anytime there has been any elimination of any African good leader, it is great. We use our own people against us.
French soldiers have been expelled. Embassies have been shot. Military alliances have been formed between neighboring African nations with no French involvement. Young leaders like Captain Ibrahim Traoré are calling out colonialism by name. They are ending defense pacts, reclaiming mines, and launching independent currencies for the first time. France is being told, your time is up.
We need to look at what's happening in Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali. President Traoré is standing up. He is saying the natural resources in Burkina Faso, they belong to the people of Burkina Faso. Niger is doing the same thing. Mali is doing the same thing. Every leader must look at what's happening in the Sahel nations. If I may use the example of what happened in Niger when the government decided they were going to take over the mining of their uranium. The French companies that were mining the uranium were paying the government 80 cents a kilo for the uranium, and then turning around and selling the uranium to the rest of the world at 200 euros a kilo. So that one move from the Nigerian government to say we are now going to take ownership of our own uranium, they went from realizing about $1 billion in uranium resources to over 300 billion a year.
For too long, Africa fed the world and starved itself. Its currencies were printed abroad. Its goals were guarded by outsiders. Its leaders took orders from Paris. But not anymore. From Dakar to Ouagadougou, from Niamey to Bamako, Africa is waking up. France's grip is weakening and Africa's fists are unclenching. Only to build, to lead and to rise.
These are not coup d'etats. These are revolutions. They are revolutions because it has become obvious that those who are lackeys of France in the Sahelian region were manipulating the electoral process, were using institutions such as the judiciary for purposes of perpetuating the French agenda. And that these young men from the military came out and said, no, when the people cannot do it through traditional revolution, we are going to do it through the barrel of the gun and use the institution of the military to change the equation. And they have changed the equation. How have they changed the equation? First, they are saying we are cutting political ties with Paris. Secondly, we are cutting economic ties with Paris. We are getting out of any organization which is led by France. We are cutting off the situation that compels us to use currency that is printed in France. We are ensuring that our resources are going to be refined, and they are entering into arrangements with a number of countries, including Russia and China, to begin to build institutions and installations that are going to refine their uranium, refine their gold so that there is value addition.
Most African youth are progressives. They see his stand against France as something that all African countries should do. And he took the risk of leaving his country and coming to Ghana. Because France has not taken their eyes off the ball. And at any time, France will want to create confusion there because his presence destabilizes Alassane Ouattara in Cote d'Ivoire. So for him to have braved the situation, for him to have come, for him to have started doing what he's doing in Burkina Faso, and for his relationship with the colonial master, I think all Africans will hail him, just as they did his predecessor, Thomas Sankara. This is where we should go.
This is not anti-France. This is pro-Africa. A new dawn, a new direction, a new declaration. Africa is not yours to manage. Africa is ours to build.
Voice of Africa by Africans.